Shalom, and welcome to another lesson in the series of the people of Israel coming home. Today we will study together chapter 6, Perek Vav. Chapter 6 speaks about the very famous story of the people of Israel capturing Jericho. But actually we are now beginning not only the story of the people of Israel capturing Jericho, but actually it's the story of the battles that the people of Israel had upon entering the land. And we call this series of studies, the people of Israel are coming home. Israel is our homeland, and the people of Israel finally arrived to their homeland. The book of Joshua does not describe all of the battles they had. There are actually 4 stories of battles here in the book of Joshua. Chapter 6 speaks about the battle against Jericho. Then in chapter 7 or 8, we're describing the story of capturing the city of the Ai. We then go on and talk about the capturing or the battle against the coalition of the kings from the south. And finally, in chapter 11, we are speaking about the capturing of the battle against the kings, the coalition of kings from the north. So actually we have 4 stories. 2 stories of a battle with a single city, and 2 stories of a battle against a coalition of kings. Jericho and the Ai, the southern coalition and the northern coalition. Now this structure comes to tell us something. In both stories of capturing one city, and in both stories of capturing or fighting against the coalition of kings, there is a process. And we will study about the process. So here we are at the first city. The people of Israel are commanded to surround the city for 7 days. Every day they are to surround the city once. They are to blow the trumpets. 7 priests carrying 7 trumpets. And they are of course carrying the ark. We mentioned that there are 3 times where the ark was carried by the priests, the Kohanim, and not by the Levites, the Leviim. And that was the first time was when they crossed the Jordan. The second time was here in Jericho, and the third time will be upon building the temple by King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech. So the ark is in the hands of the priests, and it's part of the worship of God. We said in our previous lesson, entering the land of Israel was as entering back to the Garden of Eden. Here, entering Jericho was the first city. And in the first city, God is totally involved in the entire battle. Or we don't know if we should call it a battle, because they are surrounding the city for 7 days. And on the 7th day, they surround the city 7 times, and the walls come tumbling down. The people of Israel, in this case, are also commanded not to touch any of the booty, any kind of property that belongs to the people of Jericho. They are to capture the city, they are to fight with the people, but mainly the whole battle is a battle of miracles. They're blowing the trumpets and the walls come tumbling down. We mentioned in the past, or the book mentions, that crossing the river of Jordan was there to remind us of what happened in crossing the Red Sea. I will read the verse that it says here. And the people of Israel crossed the Jordan River just like what happened when they crossed the Dead Sea. Exactly as Moses did to what happened. I'm reading in chapter 4, verse 22. Perek Gim Daled Pasuk Kavbet. Vodatem et bneichem lemor, bayabasha avar Yisrael te'Yarden hazeh. The people of Israel crossed the river on dry land. Asher hovish Adonai Elohechem et mei Yarden, kasher asa Adonai Elohechem liyam suf. God dried the Jordan River as he did to the Red Sea. But when the Red Sea was dried up, there was another part in the story there. Moses takes the stick, he hits the sea splits itself and dries up. But that's only the first scene. The second scene is that when the people of Israel conclude passing, the waters of the sea cover and God beats the Egyptians. In crossing the Jordan, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. Where does it happen? Here in Jericho. Crossing the river and capturing Jericho are 1 or 2 for a price of 1. They are crossing the river was drying the Jordan, compared to drying the Dead Sea. Entering Jericho was compared to the sea falling on the people of Egypt. And if we recall in the book of Exodus, the falling of the sea is described in the book of Exodus. I'm talking about Parashat Bishalach. I'm talking about chapter 14 and 15. In chapter 14, it says, Uvnei Yisrael halchu bayabasha betoch hayam, and the people of Israel went in the sea in dry land. Vehamayim lahem choma, and the water is there, a wall. Exactly the same term that is used here on the walls of Jericho, chomot. So the walls come tumbling down, and this is the completion of crossing the Jordan River. And therefore the ark is in the hands of the priests, in the Kohanim, when they cross the Jordan River and when they reach Jericho. And it's interesting. On what day did the people of Israel cross the Jordan River? It says specifically in the chapter we read in our last lesson, in chapter 4 and 5. It mentions that it happened on the 16th day of Nisan. I'll read it here again. That was the day of the Passover. Vayachanu b'nei Yisrael beGilgal, vayasu et Pesach be'arba'asar. They made the offering on the 14th. They eat the next day on Mimacharat Pesach. Vayishbot haman Mimacharat, the man stops coming down on the 16th. 7 days later is Jericho. The same thing when the people of Israel come out of Egypt. They leave Egypt the 14th, the 15th, 7 days later, the drying of the Red Sea. So what we have here is a repetition of the story. Here the people are told to blow their trumpets. It doesn't happen by itself. It's not Moses hitting the sea. It's the people are actually blowing the trumpets, surrounding the city, and then when the walls fall down, the people of Jericho are totally trembling of frightening. They're totally filled with fear, and the people of Israel manage to accomplish the mission. But God says to them, don't touch the booty. And why is that? We know that usually in the wars of Israel, those who fought the war were allowed to take whatever they find. All the property there, when they captured the city, belongs to them. Why, in this case, does God say you're not allowed to? So actually we have 2 answers, which are actually 1. We know in the Jewish law, there's something called a reshit, the first son, the first fruits, the first of everything goes to God. When I work and plow and plant and grow all my crops, at the end I'm ready to eat, and I get the feeling that it's all mine, God says, no, the first you give to God. To teach you, humbly, you are to recognize the fact that everything you have is a present from God. Also upon entering the land of Israel, the the people of Israel are to understand that capturing the land is not something in their hands, but it's a present they're receiving from Hashem. How do they do that? The very first part of the land they capture, they give to God. But there is more to that. When they are to capture the land, who deserves the booty? The booty goes to those who fought the war. And here, if the people of Israel would take it to themselves, it would be as if they felt that they fought the war. But here in Jericho, when we are beginning the process, which we mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, capturing of 2 cities, battle against 2 coalitions of kings, the entire thing together is a process. And the very first process we see that the entire action, the entire war, the entire battle is led by God. And therefore He is to get the booty of the war. We will see. Gradually things will change. Step by step, God will loosen the cord. God will let them do more. But right now, in the first war, the first city they capture in the land of Israel, the city of Jericho, there's a very special command. Don't rebuild the city, so that everybody who sees it knows that the land was captured by God. And even what you go on and manage to defeat the nations that are here in the other wars, in the other battles, remember that it's all due to the steps of God. The very first thing you give to God, you remember that God was the one who led this war, and you take thanks to Hashem. And this is where the book of Joshua, throughout, from the very beginning, throughout the entire book, is teaching us, on the one hand, you are a free people, you are to take the initiative. On the other hand, don't forget that even though sometimes things look natural, they are in the hands of Hashem. Shalom.